Hello everyone, so we are starting a new unit today, Unit 6, Organic. So make sure you insert your name on this first slide and the block, which this is the second block. So let's go over the table of contents right quick since we are starting a new unit. So today is Friday, you will be doing the organic intro. On Monday, you'll do the chemistry in cells. Tuesday, empirical, molecular, and skeletal, and that is formulas. Thursday, you'll do both naming and drawing isomers. They really kind of play off each other, so it'd be easy to do both of those in the same day. And then you'll notice we did skip Wednesday. Wednesday is Veterans Day, and we have a couple of things planned here. So for virtual, just make sure you take that time to look at Veterans Day, what that means, and also a time for you, the virtual students, to catch up if they're behind on anything. And then on Friday, since the naming and drawing, they're both of those. That'll give you time to ask questions, do Google Meets to help understand how to name and draw. So that'll give you a day to make sure you have the notes and stuff done, and then Friday will be used for practicing. The lab for this will be on Monday, the 16th, and then the test and notebook check for this will be on Tuesday. So first we are going to go over organic intro. So topic, intro to organic. Your goal is I can explain what makes a compound organic and the major types of organic compounds. Remember, if it is red, that means it is vocabulary, and what's underlined is everything you need to know or to put in your notes section. Okay, so first, organic chemistry. What is it? That is the study of carbon-containing compounds. You may be thinking, if you go to the store and you buy something organic, it's fresh, it's natural, all this stuff. But really, what makes something organic is if it has carbon in it. So just because it has an organic label on it at the store does not mean it's healthy. Plastic is organic, so technically they could post a stamp on plastics and say, oh, organic. So nutritionally, they tend to have another meaning for it, but organic, specifically organic chemistry, it's talking about carbon containing compounds. The molecular shape is crucial because that shape is what gives it many properties, and you'll notice that as we go on through this unit. So carbon is unique among the elements for 3 reasons. It can have up to 4 bonds per carbon atom, which we talked about a lot when we were talking about different types of bonds, specifically covalent bonding and when we drew covalent bonds. Another interesting thing about carbon is it can form really long chains of carbon where there are tons of carbons in one compound. And the bonds are very strong. So we're not going to draw organic structures till later on in this week, but as we go through different types, you'll notice that you have the Lewis structure here where you see all the hydrogens and carbons. You have the condensed where you see everything's written out, but it's not really drawn. And then you may also see the line structure. So these line structures, the bends and the lines are your carbons, and then it's just assumed that all those hydrogens are there. That is what you will see a lot in this unit is the line structure. For one, it doesn't take up as much space, and two, you can, if the carbons are on the ends, there'll be 3 H's, and if carbons are in the middle, there'll only be 2. So since you can assume that, you can figure out what it's talking about just by using lines. So basic definitions, we're going to talk about different types of organic compounds and the different categories. So hydrocarbons are compounds that only contain H and C, or hydrogen and carbon, nothing else. Alkanes are hydrocarbons that only have single bonds. So here you notice there is not one double bond, there's not one triple bond, they are all single bonds. So both of these down here, which here you have the element, the Lewis structure, and then you also have the line, it's the same things. Since they only have single bonds, they are alkanes. Alkenes have one double bond. So here you have these two examples. There is a double bond, so that'll be an alkenes. So alkanes, single bond, alkenes, double bond, and then alkynes, if you had to make a guess, yep, it is a hydrocarbon that has a triple bond. So if it has a triple bond, it has an alkyne, or it is an alkyne. So you don't have to write this one down, but there's also aromatic hydrocarbons, and they form these rings. And you notice in this ring, every other one is a double bond in order for it to be 8 and to be happy. So they do form rings. These are more advanced organic compounds. If you take chemistry in college, you will talk about this specifically if you take organic chemistry. So, we're just going to kind of talk about what it is, but we're not going to go into much about the hydrocarbons. Okay, so some finer point definitions that we will be talking about, but you don't need to know the definition for necessarily. But you need to know straight chain compounds are a single backbone, so it's just like one line and it just keeps going. There's nothing branching off. Branched chains have a main carbon backbone and one or more branches where there's these little lines just kind of popping out off of the main chain. And then substitute compounds have one or more H atoms removed with other atoms, often halogens, so like your fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, those in that specific column. Those typically are the ones that substitute. So here, on this line right here, instead of that being a carbon, it's a bromine. Okay, substituents. You need to know this word. Those are the branches in H replacing atoms or groups. So, for example, here, chlorine is substituting the carbons. So that's why they are called substituents. This is also basically what makes PVC, like the PVC pipe. It's just basically long chains of the carbon, hydrogen, and chlorine compounds. Okay, functional group. You need to know that a characteristic pattern that makes up a portion of a larger molecule. Importance. Figures largely determine the behavior of their molecules. So alcohols, there are many different types of alcohols. Hopefully you do not know very many different types of alcohols. But what makes something an alcohol has nothing to do with like what name, it's all of what it's made up of. And the only thing that makes an alcohol is an OH added to a chain of carbons. Now ketones, they have this double bond to an O, and carboxylic acids have both the OH and the double bond O. We're not going to talk about this too much because we are going to kind of just focus on the simple organic compounds. But these, especially like the alcohol, I know that's something that y'all are familiar with or I've heard of before. And that's what makes that. All right, so in your next slide in your digital notebook, you'll notice you have these different types, and I have the names for them, so you will need to pause the video right here and go back and forth on that slide to fill that chart out for you to get familiar and have a guide on the different types of organic compounds. So if you have any questions about this section, let me know, and I will be happy to help.